What is going on, RotoGrinders? Dean here at Dean78904. If you want to get all technical on me, we're talking sports cards today. RotoGrinders dipping our feet today in the sports card world, and we'll get into it. We'll dig into it, but I'm not the person to be talking about sports cards in 2020. I have a lot of questions, and I know who has some answers. Batting first, leading off. You may not know him by face, but you know him by his work behind the scenes. It's Simon Edwards, RotoGrinders producer. Simon, you're giddy over there. I can see how excited you are because you're ready. We're going to have an unboxing, and you've waited long enough. I think you waited all day. It came in the mail, and you've waited for the setup, and somehow you've kept your hands off of the packs you want to open up today. I don't know why I said it plural because it's just one apparently. But what's going on, Simon? How are things in your world? Hopefully you're staying safe, and I know you're very excited to open up your Panini pack.
Hey, I'm definitely excited. I ordered these earlier in the week, and they came pretty quick. We've got a box of Panini Optic Contenders that we're going to be opening up today. It's a 2019 NFL pack there. It's a box, but it contains a pack in it, and it's about a pack of 6 cards. And these particular boxes have on average 2 autograph cards in them and an insert. So we'll find out how lucky we get tonight.
Can you wait an extra 15, 20, 25 minutes or so before you open it up? I know you're getting excited, but we're going to have a conversation first. We're also going to bring in Mike Sommer, also from WaxPackHero, WaxPackHero.com, also a podcast out there as well. What's going on, Mike?
Hey, how's it going? Glad to be here.
Yeah, I'm glad you're here because, again, my background is when I was really young. And as you can tell from this hideous quarantine beard I'm growing over here, I use the term beard. It's been a while. But when I was young, like 11, 12, 13 years old, I was working like in the sports card industry. And I was actually, working in a card store. And I had my own table. And I was way into it. And I've been out of it for at least 20 years or so, and I have no idea what's going on. I've never heard of Panini. I've heard that the sandwich is delicious. I don't know about the cards, but that I can. But apparently Panini has taken over the world when it comes to sports cards. That's kind of at the forefront. And I know. Well, tell us about WaxPackHero and tell us about your podcast before we dive into and talking about the state of sports cards in 2020.
Yeah, what you just said is the story that so many people have experienced. And that is, there's a lot of us who collected as kids in the 80s and 90s and then stepped away, as we got older, got into high school or college, and, girls came into the picture or some other, life started to happen. But over the last several years, cards never went anywhere. But over the last several years, there's been more and more people who are starting to come back to cards. And some of that is for nostalgic purposes, but also more and more people are starting to see that there's actually some money to be made with cards right now. And it's not quite in the way that it used to be with all of the overproduction and the millions of cards that were being produced in the 80s and 90s. Things are a little bit different now. And so people are both having fun doing some things like they did when they were a kid, and they were also able to start to make a little bit of money. And that kind of mirrors my story too. I collected as a kid up through the mid to late 90s, but around 2015, I started to get back into it. And as I did that, I realized a lot had changed since the 80s and 90s. And luckily, I was able to connect with the local hobby shop owner, and he really taught me a lot about what had changed. But as I was doing it more and more, I realized there's more people like me that are out there. And so maybe I can help create a resource that they can use as they start to come back and get into the hobbies to help ease that transition back into collecting and figure out what's going on. And so that's when I started WaxPackHero.com. Late 2017, early 2018. So I've been going a little over 2 years now with the blog and website. And then last fall, I'd had a chance to be a guest host on a couple other sports card podcasts last summer. The About the Card show is the main one that I had a chance to hop on, and thought maybe I can start my own podcast to kind of continue that path. And so my main objective with the podcast and the website is to balance both the hobby and the business sides of collecting, to show people how you can have a self-sustaining hobby, make a little extra money on the side, to help out with things. And I just really enjoy, helping other people figure it all out.
Yeah, a couple follow-ups. One, do you remember like the defining moment? What kind of re-sparked your interest? And the second part is you're talking about like helping people like with their hobby and making a few extra bucks. Your specialty, right, is like the small, like the not $1,000 price cards, but the cheaper ones where you can sort of turn over a whole bunch. Kind of speak to that.
Yeah. So the one thing that really sparked to it is I never got rid of my cards from when I was a kid. And so at one point in 2015 there, I had come across some of the cards that I had as a kid. And then I actually was on ESPN, I think, and stumbled across a banner ad for one of the online retailers. And it was around the Black Friday sales time, and they had some deals going on. And so I said, well, maybe I'll order a few boxes. And I enjoyed this as a kid. And sure enough, I did. I think one of the first boxes that I got was some Donruss basketball cards, and ended up pulling a jersey card of LeBron James out of that first box that I opened. And that kind of helped spark my interest of getting back into it as well. And then, yeah, there's cards that range all different price levels, and I equate that a lot to the DFS world. There's buy-ins that are thousands of dollars a buy-in, and there's the quarter jukebox, or the quarter arcade, where you can be getting in and playing for a quarter. And the same thing exists in the sports card world. And a lot of my specialty is in the lower end of the market, buying cards anywhere from fractions of a penny up to $1, $5, $10, and then turning around and flipping those to generate some steady income. But there's a lot of other people out there who are buying cards for thousands of dollars and selling them for tens of thousands of dollars. And some of the packs, like we're going to open tonight, there's cards in this set that we're going to look at tonight. There are cards that have sold within the last month for $1,000, $2,000, $3,000. And so there's money to be made at all ends. And that's one of the things I love about the sports card world is you can both treat it as a hobby and have fun with it, but there's also that financial side where if you put in the work and you learn what you need to learn and you do some research, there's money to be made as well.
Yeah, again, I'm totally naive to 2020 sports cards right now. I'm just kind of delving back in. You said a LeBron James jersey card. What does that mean? Does that mean like you send it in and you can get a jersey? Like I have no idea. Part of my naivete.
Sure. And so that's one of the other things that has changed so much since the 80s and 90s is one of the primary things that people chase or want to find in packs of cards now are cards that have been autographed by the players, or cards that have a small piece of a jersey or a bat or a shoe or a helmet or some kind of relic from a game. And the player has worn that item or touched that item or whatever you want to call it. And so these jersey cards and these relic cards are some of the big chases that people try to get out of the cards or out of the packs these days. And the other thing that they've done that kind of differentiates cards from the 80s and 90s is add a level of scarcity. And so there are a lot of cards now that are serial numbered, and they've got a kind of a foil serial numbered stamp right on the card that adds a little bit of a scarcity. Everything from a card that might be one of 10,000 copies down to cards that are one of one. This is the only card in existence, of that. And some of those are also some of the more sought after things that people are trying to get. And that adds a lot of value to the cards as well.
All right, Simon, we didn't forget about you. And you didn't go ahead and open that pack without us, right? I assume it's still unopened?
It's still here, man.
Tell me your story, because your story is similar to mine, except you jumped back in recently and you're way ahead of me as far as your reboot. But you as well. You used to be weighing the cards when you were younger, fell out of it. Now you're back. What brought you back?
Well, I collected, like you, in the late 80s, early 90s. I invested a lot of time and energy and money into collecting cards, thinking I was making some great investment. And then you fast forward to, like the early 2000s and, like the cards hadn't appreciated in value. So I kind of gave up on the industry. And in 2009, I started a company with Don West We worked together
Goat,
when I
man.
was at the. I was over at TNA, where he was an announcer for the matches, and we got to be friends, and we started a company together, which was an affiliate marketing company, and we ended up selling sports collectibles on it, and we were selling a lot of like older wax packs and stuff like that, like huge grab bags of all these variety of wax packs, Donruss, Fleer, Tops, Upper Deck, all those old brands. And they're still basically they weren't worth a lot, so it was still like a lack of interest. There was more like card companies trying to get rid of their inventory. And fast forward to a couple weeks ago, and Cam mentioned that we were thinking about getting into sports cards content. And when I heard that, I basically I laughed at him. I'm like, what are we doing that for? And then he introduced me to this website called Sports Card Investor, which has these great tools for kind of tracking like the value of these cards. And we started looking at he started showing me the modern cards, and how they've the whole industry is consolidated. Like Panini took over Donruss and Score, and I believe Upper Deck took over Fleer. Is that right, Mike?
Yep, that's right.
Yeah. So there's there's really consolidated to just a few companies left, and those companies are more focused on scarcity these days. Like Mike was mentioning, they have fewer cards in a pack, fewer packs in a box, and those cards are they'll do variations of certain cards that increase the scarcity even more. So like with this pack, with this box, for instance, they'll have several variations of a Kyler Murray rookie card. They'll have like a rookie card where they have like a silver version, a red version, a green version, a gold version, and each of those different color schemes has a higher scarcity. To like Mike was saying, like there's one version in there that only has one card in existence, and that's
you sent me a cheat sheet. It's the gold vinyl, which is one of one. Is that what we're searching for? Like a Kyler Murray gold vinyl. We'll get a fun reaction out of you.
Yeah, I believe so, man. If we get that, I might have to run out of the house. But it's there's a lot of rare cards now, and it's definitely a different scene than it was in the late 80s, early 90s, and it's definitely a lot more value out there. You look at some of the prices on cards these days, you can find a Giannis, like 2013 Panini silver rookie card is selling for like $15K. And, like more recently, like the Zion Panini Prism silver card is going for, like $3K. I tried to buy it last week. I couldn't get the price that I wanted, and you fast forward a week later, it's worth $1,000 more than what it was.
What did Zion do in the last week?
Yeah, exactly.
Why would it move? Why would it move $1,000 in a week? Just out of curiosity.
Yeah, just because like with all the economic uncertainty, a lot of these more expensive cards had tumbled in price. So I think as things are becoming like less uncertain, like the value, like the demand is coming back in, and it's raising the prices back up.
Yeah, Mike, you'd say it's basically where you tell me, is it like it's like a sports stock market? Is that like a fair way of saying it?
Yeah, to some extent that is the case. People are putting down money with the anticipation that the cards are going to have an increasing demand. And as that demand has risen over the last few years, we've seen the prices rise along with that, kind of across the board. And there's that market, like I had mentioned before, of more and more people coming back to the hobby. You've got new people enter. There's a Gary Vaynerchuk has started to talk about sports cards and get back into sports cards, and he's really started to expose the world of flippers who like to buy stuff and sell it for more, shoe flippers, and just flippers in general. And so you've got some new entrants like that are coming into the market.
Are you a flipper?
I enjoy some garage sale flips from time to time. That is true. And then the international market is continuing to grow too, especially for NBA cards. And there is a big international NBA market that has really started to drive the values of some of those cards higher.
So I've been way out of this, and I kind of like just prepping for the podcast. I want to do a little bit of research, and it's all a little bit overwhelming. Just like the concept of all these different kind of cards. And Mike, if you can just kind of give me like a step or two, like ease me in, like what's an easy way to kind of like not be completely intimidated by, what's the market looks like today when I'm coming at it from 1990 eyes.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is to start doing some research and just start reading. Get plugged into some different resources, hobby resources out there that can help to start educate people or educate yourself on what has changed and what the lay of the land is. The other thing that I always suggest to people to do is to start with a focus that is more narrow, right? And so start getting reacclimated by just focusing in on football or basketball, or baseball, soccer, whatever it might be. Start with one sport and start to learn the ins and outs of that, and research via eBay, research via the sports card investor tool. There's tools out there that can help acclimate you to what things are, how things have changed, what you might want to do. I think, like we talked about, there's autograph cards, there's jersey cards, there's serial number cards. There's just still the regular old base card is kind of what the regular card is called. And there's people who enjoy collecting those, and there's value to all of those at varying levels. And so just kind of start with a more narrow focus until you can get the lay of the land again and get acclimated to what has changed.
All right, Simon, RotoGrinders, we're of course delving into the world of sports card investing content, and we've teamed up with Sports Card Investor, SCI. I know they have this market mover that I hear works. I want to hear you talk about that more. And of course, if you guys want to get yourself a membership, it's 25% off as far as a discount for your first month with SCI. Tell me why I want this, Simon. I know you were talking about at the pre-show, the market mover. What does that mean? What does that do? How does that help me?
Well, the market mover is a tool that he's created that aggregates the sales across eBay, so that when you look up a certain player, you can see how his cards are trending. You can also get general price movements of players or cards. I'm just doing a screen share here so I can kind of show what I'm talking about. That shows which cards are trending up and which cards have had the greatest increases in price over a certain period of time, or which cards have had the greatest decreases in price over a certain period of time. And as we're looking at it right now, you can see a lot of the cards that are trending right now are some older cards. We got Reggie Miller.
What did Reggie Miller? He called a good game in the Big Three or something?
It might be something with nostalgia. Go ahead, Mike.
It's the new documentary that's coming out. This big Bulls documentary is driving a lot of interest, both in Bulls players from that era as well as some of the other stars of that era.
John Stockton, Malone, like those guys. Clyde Drexler.
Yep. We
were talking pre-show, and you were telling me about Jordan. There's more demand for Jordan, and of course, Jordan hasn't done anything basketball-wise in the last so many years. But I guess nostalgia always sells. People are very nostalgic. They love it, and a lot of people like me and a lot of people like you guys, I'm sure, remember collecting Jordan stuff. Like, that was fun, so let's do it again. And I guess that makes sense, supply and demand. And I'm sure over the last 20 years, a lot of the demand has went away because people throw stuff out or it gets dinged, and you move and you just got to forget it. So I guess there's less supply now, Mike. Does that make sense?
Yeah, to some extent there is. There is some less supply than there used to be. Although a lot of those cards that we collected as kids, there were so many of them that they're still plentiful.
Yeah. Star basketball, right? Wasn't that the Jordan, the Star basketball? That's the key, right? One of
That one and
5,000.
the Fleer. Yep.
The Fleer. I think didn't Star basketball. They sold them in gas stations, if I remember correctly, like in team bags. Does this sound correct? Anybody? Does that sound
they
familiar?
came in team sets.
Yeah. Well, I'm getting nostalgic. I had a Stockton team bag back in the day. That was good times for sure. What was your best card, Simon? Do you remember your feature card in your collection when you were younger?
Oh, man. The feature card that I had at the time was the Mark McGuire 1984 Topps Olympic team card. But I also had the 89 Upper Deck Griffey card. But I believe, like, and Mike, you can correct me if I'm wrong here, but didn't they find out that there were a lot more of those cards that were printed than was suspected?
Yeah, the rumor is there's a documentary, Jack of All Trades, that came out last year, and the producer of that, the star of that, went and talked with some folks that used to work at Upper Deck, and the story is that they were printing sheets and sheets of those Griffey Juniors to meet the demand. It wasn't as random or as spread out of a print run as you might have thought, that they were running the printing presses. Now, Upper Decks never came out and admitted that officially, but that's the story anyway.
Prettiest card ever.
It's a cool card.
Ken Griffey Jr., #1 Upper Deck. I think I'm sure, you know what? I probably shouldn't say that because I haven't seen cards in like 25 years. And there's probably prettier cards. Prettiest card that I can remember is the Ken Griffey Jr. #1.
Yeah, I mean, it's a fun one. It's not worth near as much as it was at the peak, but it's still a $25 to $30 card a lot of times.
Yeah.
Is that all it is these days? Unbelievable.
It's crazy, Dean, because you look at a Zion card, the guy's played, like less than a year, and like his rookie card is selling for $2,000. And just to put it in perspective, I've got, like the Shaquille O'Neal Fleer Ultra rookie card. I found it in my closet the other day, and I went to look it up, and it was like $10.
It's so funny you mentioned that because when I was younger, this is how much I was in the sports cards when I was younger. You probably remember this baseball card, maybe you don't. The Nolan Ryan rookie card with he was two people, him and Kuzman. Was it Kuzman on there? I found that card just laying around in my closet. At the time, it was like a $1,500 card. I have no idea what it is today. To be fair, it was in terrible condition, but I just randomly found a Nolan Ryan rookie. That's interesting. Mike, how about you? What's your?
That is a good one. A Nolan Ryan rookie is still a good one. Those old vintage cards still have a lot of value from the 50s. It
was so
60s.
beat up. You could tell it was in my closet, just for no particular reason. Mike, what was your featured card, or maybe a featured set that you're most nostalgic for back in the day?
My most nostalgic set is not worth a lot, but it's the 1986 Topps set. That was the year that I started collecting. It has the black border on top, and that's the set I'll always remember collecting. But probably a couple of the ones that stood out to me is I obtained some of my uncle's football cards from the 60s, and so I had a 1969 Brian Piccolo rookie, Gale Sayers rookie, Larry Zonka, some of those football players from the late 60s. And then 86 was a great year for football because that was a Jerry Rice rookie year. And so I had several of those Jerry Rice rookies from that first year I was collecting.
You know what? I think I happen to have one right next to not the Rice card, but hold on a second. You're going to see it. This makes for great internet television. If I can find this a little bit quicker, but it's the green and white back. Look at this. Yep. That's it, right?
That's that year. Yep. That's the 86 year.
Oh, nice.
Yep.
It's not Jerry. It's definitely not. It's William the Refrigerator Perry.
Yeah. That was one of my favorites that year too, as a Bears fan, as you can see.
That's right. Yeah. Right? You're a Bear. No wonder you mentioned Piccolo and you mentioned Sayers. That was no coincidence.
Yeah.
You give me your address. I'll hook you up. You get the fridge. It's all yours. Oh man. So, are we getting Nancy here, Simon, as far as opening our box? Is there any more nostalgia we want to share? Anything else we want to say as far as the industry currently as is today? Or
I think we could probably just give a few different pointers on actually investing in cards, because it's, this is probably the wrong way to do it. Is to buy.
It's fun though, right? It's fun. These. Fun matters.
It's fun. Yeah. This is more an investment in fun. Than a sports card, because it's you're probably better in the long run to just find the card that you want and buy it, because you probably have to buy like 20 of these boxes just to get, like exactly or not exactly what you're looking, but even close to what you're looking for. And, like at RotoGrinders, of the sports content that we're putting up, we're going to be putting up a lot of links that'll make it easier for you to find the cards that you're looking for. And, like the best way to do it is basically eBay auctions, or, trying to find buy it now options on eBay that also offer, like a best offer, so that you can approach somebody who's selling a card for a certain price and say, offer them, like a fraction of what they're looking for or whatever, and just kind of, see how low
is that what you're
you can
saying?
get. Yeah, pretty much. Just see how much you can get off the price of the card. A lot of times people will like highball, like when they're selling it, just try to sell it for like this ridiculous prices, and you can definitely get them down on those prices a lot of the times. And one of the things that you want to focus on when you're buying those individual cards is the graded cards, because if you're finding a PSA 10 card, a Gem Mint 10 card, that's worth a lot more than a card without a grade on it. But also, like if you're spending a significant amount of money on a card with no grade, there's no guarantee that card's even worth anything. Because if you end up getting a grade of like less than a 10 or less than a 9, then it's pretty much, you're going to have trouble selling the card in the future for a decent price. So it's always better to look for those graded cards if you're making a significant investment in an individual card.
Yeah, Mike, speak to that as far as the grades. I think Beckett does it, and I believe somebody else. There's 2 different companies that do the grading.
There's 3 main companies right now. PSA, Beckett, and SGC is kind of the third company that's kind of an up and comer. They do a lot of the grading. There's, it helps both with some assurance of the authenticity of cards as well as the grade. And no company's perfect. There's been questions about, cards that slip through that maybe have some questionable grades on them or some questionable authenticity, but when they're handling millions of cards, that's going to be something that comes up. But it is one of the things in the hobby that has really continued to drive some interest is grading. That's not something that I do as much personally as far as sending cards in, but it is one of those things that gives you a little more confidence when you're buying. One of my ideas or one of my tips is when you're looking for cards to buy, you want to be able to identify trends that are maybe unrecognized, things that there's potential there that other people haven't quite picked up on yet. And so you can do some of that yourself, like through looking at eBay sold listings and reading about what's, who's up and coming from a prospect or a rookie perspective that maybe not all fans have picked up on yet. But Sports Card Investor does a lot of that work for you too, and does some of that trend analysis and makes the identification of some of those trends a little bit easier as well. And so if that's the angle that you want to take, some of those tools at Sports Card Investor are pretty helpful in identifying some of those trends.
Yeah, you talk about featuring in low to mid stakes as far as cards. A couple of questions as far as getting them graded. I guess that they have to be a certain value to even make it worth the grading, right? You're not going to get a $5 card or a $10 card or a $20 card grading, I would imagine. And secondly, you said there's 3 different companies that do it. Is there one that's like more liberal with their grading scale that you want to prefer? Like, or one that's more like, you get a 10 from one person, that's more impressive than a 10 from somebody else?
A 10 from, and Mike, correct me if I'm wrong, a 10 from Beckett is probably more valuable than a 10 from PSA. But like a 9.5 from Beckett is worth significantly less. But it's also, if you get a 9.5 on a Beckett grade, then that's, could have been a 10 on a PSA. So it's kind of rolling the dice to get that 10 on Beckett, where it's probably safer to to get that 10 on PSA if you want to roll the dice there. Does that sound about right, Mike?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's one of those things where there are it goes back and forth, and sometimes it depends on the sport and depends on the card. It depends on the era. You know, some people like their old vintage cards from the 40s, 50s, and 60s to be one brand, and like their modern cards to be from one of the other grading companies. It really is just changing, and SGC has been one that some of that pricing gap or the value gap has been changing and coming up over the last few weeks as well. And so it really is kind of those big three players. But you're also right in that you don't want to just send in your random Joe Blow card to get graded. It's not worth paying the $10 or $20 to get it graded. You really want to make sure that card's worth a decent amount on their own, or is a more unique or significant card on its own, because otherwise it's not worth the processing fee.
Besides eBay, you know, I hate to be nostalgic and be back in my day, but like there used to be, you know, card shows, and sometimes there were card shows like in bowling alleys. Sometimes there were card shows in malls, like massive card shows that I partook in, and like they had like 100, 150 dealers. Is that not a thing just yet? As the industry gotten that, you know, ramp back up to Simon or Mike, either one of you guys? Is that a thing? No.
Yeah, there's a period of time where card shows started to go away, and they weren't near as popular or as big as they were back in the 80s and 90s. Now, the National Sports Collectors Convention's been going on, I think, since 1980, and it's still hugely attended every year, and the attendance has been growing and growing again over the last 3 to 4 years. It's been up every year. More and more local shows are starting to pop back up, not near as big as they have been in the past. I set up at a small monthly local show that we've got here in Central Illinois, and that's been a lot of fun. So there still is that in-person dynamic, but the online marketplace has dominated the game, you know, far and away, because you can buy cards all hours of night, you know, not just the once a month at that card show or whatever. And so the online platforms are dominating right now.
Yeah, that's cool that you mentioned there's hobby shops as well too. And maybe I'm not looking for them, but I just assume like all like the baseball card, you know, football card shops just kind of sort of went away, and maybe they did. And now there's a resurrection, which is awesome. That's pretty cool. You said there's one in your area, and I don't know if they feature just sports cards or it's like sports cards and like
sports cards and Magic at ours. There's, you know, Magic the Gathering's another big draw. There's a couple in Nashville as well, I know, that you might have to check out sometime. But yeah, not every town has them, you know, not like before. Every even small towns, you know, there'd be 2 or 3 card shops.
Yeah.
They're a little fewer and far between, but they're still around.
Simon, you got any more overarching tips for the people out there watching before, or maybe you're just getting giddy, you're getting antsy, you want to open up your box there?
No, I mean, you know, like just check out, keep an eye out on RotoGrinders for our, you know, sports card content. We'll be putting out, you know, like a few videos a week and some articles, and you know, giving recommendations mostly based off of the market mover tool that we're using. Don't forget to get your subscription there as well. Get the first month for 20% off. We'll have some links to navigate to get that deal on our site, and some promo codes eventually. But yeah, check that out for sure. And yeah, let's open this box.
All right, no more stalling. Without further ado, let's do it. Let's dive into a Panini box for the NFL. What, 2019? You know it better than me. 2019. What's it called here, Simon?
Contenders Optic.
There you go. All right, we're back. Simon is in position. He's getting antsy. He's looking forward to opening this up. Before we fully dive in and open this up, Simon, just give it 1 second, because I'm going to throw it to Mike. We're getting 6 cards. 6 cards in this box. What is the breakdown? What are we expecting here as far as the 6 cards? Like there's different versions, correct?
Yeah, so this is Contenders Optic, Panini Contenders Optic. It's got kind of a shiny chrome finish. That's one of the things people like about these cards is they've got kind of a shiny chrome-ish look and feel to them. This box retails for about it released at about $130, but recently the demand has kind of climbed up. They're running about $170, $180 a box right now. And this box actually contains just 6 cards, but we should expect to see 2 autographs, 2 base cards, 1 insert card, and at least one serial numbered parallel card. And you can find that on a lot of the informational websites online, or as he's kind of showing there, you can see on the back, it gives some odds on what you might be able to expect. But really what we're wanting to get from here is some of the rookie autographs, especially if we can find some of the rookie quarterback autographs.
So the biggest of the big scores, I guess, will be Kyler Murray. Is that like the prize here?
Kyler would be great. He's been climbing both in the number of cards, the demand for his cards has been up, and the value of his cards have been climbing pretty well.
The trade of Hopkins, I assume, probably raises the value. That would make sense, right? Hopkins being one of the best receivers.
Yep.
Yeah. You would think if he's a good quarterback and he gets one of the best receivers in the league, you have to imagine that would increase his stock for sure. So we were talking, and Simon, you can go. Did you take the cellophane off there, the wrapper?
Yeah, let me do that.
All right. We were talking just a little bit off air, and you were mentioning how Brady is still like really expensive and sought after, and you were saying essentially because he didn't sign for a long time. Are there any players? Are the players obligated? Do some players hold out and say, no, I don't want to partake? Is there anybody that's not signing?
There are people, especially once they're established vets, that start to sign less and less. A lot of the rookies, they kind of want to get that money right away, as they're trying to work in their contracts. So the rookie autographs are usually a little more plentiful. Some of those veterans aren't. Julio Jones was notorious for not signing, even though he was supposed to have signed. And so he was one that there are a lack of Julio Jones autographs too.
Yeah, I mean, I remember the Honus Wagner card, the famous Honus Wagner card, that was allegedly one of two things, right? Either because he didn't want to, they were in cigarette packs. He didn't want his card to be involved in cigarette packs. And I think either at some point he was holding out for more money. Wasn't it one of those two things? Does that sound correct to you guys? Or am I making this up?
Yeah, I've heard both. Yeah. He didn't want to help promote tobacco use. And then I've heard there was money issues too, and I don't know if I've ever heard an official or true confirmed story, but yeah, I've heard both those theories.
I think here's a 30 for 30 short in this that now I want to check out. One of those short documentaries, the ESPN, not an hour long, but maybe like 15 minutes or so. But all right, Simon is diving in. Simon, what do you want? I know we talked about Murray being a prize card. Is that the card you want? Is there anything you're aiming for?
Murray's the guy I'm looking for. I'm a Miles Sanders fan too. I wouldn't mind getting a Miles Sanders card.
Any 101 would be great.
Yeah, and basically like anything that's worth like the price of the box would be nice.
Yeah, that's the thing about boxes like this. There's going to be cards in here that are worth thousands of dollars, or there's a chance that this box will be worth $20. You just never know.
All right, so
we got Tyrell Williams, Simon.
Tyrell Williams. Here we go.
It's a pretty looking card.
It's a nice card. It's a nice thick card. You see the thickness there? It's got like a good feel to it. Very quality. You can tell it's a quality material. I
believe that's one of the base cards.
Yep.
Is that a dud? Is that a nice way of saying a dud?
Yep.
No, just kind of the standard set, just cards that are in the standard set. You're going to get at least a couple of those in there.
We got X's and O's. Would this be considered the insert card, Mike?
I believe so.
Okay. All right. So 0 for 2. Let's see. We got the Sony Michel.
No, that's a red. So is that serial numbered?
Let's see. Yes, it is. It's 91 of 199. I don't know if you can see that on there or not.
And red is the least rare. That's what I'm seeing. Is that correct? As far as those
as far as the serial numbered cards, yep.
Okay.
That's the one that is most common.
All right. Well, here's an autograph. DeAndre Walker. So Soccer Dave might be excited about that one.
Hey, you're in the right city to have this. You're based out of Nashville, so.
One thing too, I'll mention with with the autographs is there's two different types of autograph card. There's the one with the autograph on the actual card, which is worth more. This is one where it's been autographed on a sticker and just stuck on the card. So not as valuable as an autograph on the card, from my understanding, but just to give you a little bit more detail on what you're looking at here.
Now, is that one serial numbered at all?
This one is not serial number that I see.
So that's kind of your standard auto then.
Yep, looks like that. What is this?
Oh, that's the second one. That's a redemption.
Rookie of the Year contenders, Nick Bosa. So we got to play. Okay, so we got a good hit on this one.
What does redemption mean? Like you have to mail it in or something?
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So sometimes the company does not get the autographs back from the player in time to get them included in packs. And so they insert this redemption card. And so it will have a code there that you scratch off and enter in on the website. And when those cards are returned, then Panini will mail you that autographed card.
That is a good hit. That is a good hit.
That's a good hit?
Yep.
Okay. I mean, I know he's a top pick and all that, but I was just wondering if people generally probably lean toward offensive players over defensive players. But if you're going to get a defensive player, that seems like a good one.
Now, Mike, I don't know if you can tell. Like it says card number 19. Is there a way to tell, like specifically, like which color we got? Like and maybe like get an idea of the scarcity. I wonder if that's
a lot of times it will say like if it's one of the parallels, it will a lot of times say which one it is.
Yeah.
And so Rookie of the Year contenders, it looks like the way that I understand it, I think it's going to be at worst serial number to 125.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's pretty cool, man. Like,
so do you think that returns the value of the box right there?
It should. Like that's. I would imagine it'd be, like a Nick Bosa autograph card would be worth at least, like $150. But you never know. It depends on, like how many were printed of this particular version of the card, and there's a lot that goes into it.
What do you think, Mike? Is that a reasonable guess?
Yeah, I'd say somewhere between 50 and 100 probably.
And then we got Dalvin Cook for the last one there.
Now, okay, so you were talking about part of the regular set. The regular set doesn't wait. When you buy sets, these contender cards don't come with it, right? It's not a part of the standard set. Is that correct? Is that like these? You don't have to have all the contender cards in order to make a complete set.
You wouldn't have to have all the autographs and everything like that to make a complete set. Products like Optic contenders are not one that set collectors typically go after. They'll go after your more general Donruss set or your score set, something like that. That's made in a way that is more set conducive, right? There's 200 or 300 cards in those sets. It covers a wider range of players. There's only about 100 different players in this Contenders Optic set. And so it's really narrowed down. It's more driven off of people who are chasing those autographs. It's not really built for people who want to build a whole set.
Simon, how happy are we? Scale of 1 to 10.
Yeah, pretty good. I give that about a 7 or an 8. Like I feel like a Nick Bosa autograph redemption is a pretty good score for a first time opening, like one of these boxes for sure.
Number 2 pick in the draft.
Yep, for sure.
All right. And I know we're going to do another video soon enough, and you have another box on layaway, right?
Yeah. Dean and I are doing a podcast at some point next week with Don West, and we're stay tuned for that one. We're going to be shooting the shit with him about his past in the industry and like the $1 billion worth of cards that he sold throughout his career. Don was a legend, and he had the same reaction that you and I had, Dean, when we heard recently that cards were kind of making a comeback. He's like, really? So
yeah,
we'll have an interesting conversation with him for sure.
All right, we appreciate you for joining us, both Simon and Mike. Mike, before you step aside and get out of here, tell the people once again about WaxPackHero, your podcast, where they can find you on the interwebs and all that good stuff.
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at @MikeSommer. Check out WaxPackHero.com, and the podcast is the WaxPackHero Sports Card Minute. And I really just focus in on helping people navigate this world of cards, figure out how to buy and sell cards in a way that lets them build their collection and generate a little extra money on the side. So, I'm looking forward to participating and writing some content here at RG for the sports card stuff that we're going to be doing. And I would love for people to come follow me on Twitter and check out the website too.
Simon, do you have anything to plug besides your Bosa card that's coming in the mail at some point?
No, just make sure to keep checking out our updated content. Click on some of the links that we're going to be putting up on searches on players that we're recommending, and be sure to check out that discount on the Sports Card Investor site. It's a valuable resource, and getting 20% off. I think it's about a $49 subscription, a $50 subscription. So
that's like almost $12.50, give or take. My UCF math. Does that sound correct?
Yeah, it sounds right to me, man. But yeah, that should be that's a great resource, and the market is coming back once you if you're listening to this or watching this and you're hearing about this for the first time, these interesting cards that are being printed these days, and you start going down the rabbit hole and checking out some of the beautiful cards they got going on right now, then it's definitely a fun rabbit hole to travel down for sure.
Yeah, it was a fun nostalgia pass for sure for me. I have not talked about sports cards in a long time, but it was fun having the conversation. I appreciate Mike for joining us. I appreciate Simon for joining us. Like Simon said, myself and Simon, as well as Don West, we do have a podcast coming up sometime next week. We'll be going down memory lane again with Don West, and Simon once again will be opening up one of his boxes unless of course he can't wait the extra couple days. Who knows? He's going to be antsy. It's going to be good times. I presume he will have one more box to open up. For Simon, for Mike, I'm Dean. Hope you all enjoyed that, learned something. I know I did. That's it. We're out of here. Holler.